Hello and welcome to the STARRSHIP channel. My name's Andrew Smyth. I'm an aerospace engineer and a baker. I'm trying to develop some recipes that we could use if we wanted to travel to Mars. But I couldn't do it on my own, so I brought in some expert help. So I've got Nikki Lilly with me.
Hey!
Vlogger and Junior Bake Off winner.
So we are going to be dehydrating and rehydrating some low fat or no fat brownies, and this is really exciting because I don't think this has ever been done before.
So why should we care about baking in space? So I guess it would be my job to help crew morale.
Yeah.
Do you know what the number one thing they miss when they're in space is?
Cake? Or sweet
It's baking, it's bread. Apparently freshly
Really?
baked bread is the thing that they miss. So,
I mean, I couldn't live without bread, so.
sorry, I know, me neither. What we're going to try today is try to replicate something that we could do at the moment in space, which is our dehydrated cake recipe.
Yeah.
So let's start measuring. So if you want to pop all our dry ingredients
Sure.
in there, so we've got 200 grams of flour goes in there. I'm just going to start measuring out some egg whites. I'm just trying not to lose count of the egg whites which I'm measuring out. 6, 7. Nice stiff peaks.
So
And then that classic test. Yeah, they're done.
oh my
They're
goodness.
done.
I'm so glad that.
See? We're trying to keep some of that air in there. Look at that. So you've got a really, really light mix there. Happy with that, Nikki?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm happy with that.
So, next thing to do is we've got to make a well in this bowl and pour this in. I'm thinking we might need a bigger bowl. I mean, we can... We've just got our dry ingredients there. I'm just going to sieve those in bit by bit. So I'm just getting them all in the sieve, but then I'm just going to do it a little bit at a time and then pause. And then, just like Nikki's expertly demonstrating, a nice kind of slicing motion. And if you do it with a spatula, it means you get right the way to the bottom. You don't get any of those pesky air pockets.
Yeah.
Let's do like top 3 challenges baking in space. So number 1, crumb-free bakes. Crumbs, really big hazard in the space station. If you think about all the air conditioning units and all the electronics. There was actually, the first astronauts actually snuck a sandwich on board one of the really early, I think it was one of the Russian trips. They managed to smuggle it on board, but it almost destroyed all the electronics. So that was the one and only sandwich that has ever gone into orbit. So everything now is tortillas. So recipe, if we were developing one, would have to be crumb-free. That's number 1. Number 2, ovens in space. It's all solar powered on the space station. So a company's done the maths and they've worked out that you would need to have an oven that only used 10% the amount of power that it does on Earth. So we're thinking a total oven redesign, something really small, really power intense and very, very efficient. So that's number 2, an incredible new oven. And number 3, if you think of your fan out oven, what happens when you open the door, Nikki?
Lots of heat comes out.
You feel that waft of hot air.
You're like, oh.
But what happens to that hot air?
It disperses after a while and it rises.
Yeah, it rises up. But hot air rises because of gravity. And what do we not have in space? Gravity. So if you imagine if you opened a conventional oven, you'd have this bubble of hot air drifting around. Imagine you're just an astronaut, nip into the loo, and you're just drifting through. You go through your 200-degree hot air bubble. It's going to burn you. So we can't have any conventional oven.
No.
So those are the top 3 challenges. Crumb-free, an incredibly efficient oven.
Yeah.
And we need to do something with all that hot gas.
Them air bubbles because, no.
So you happy with that, Nikki?
Yeah, I'm happy.
Cool.
You happy?
I'm very happy. So let's grab our muffin tray there. A generous tablespoon in there for each mould. And these will rise in the oven, so you don't want to fill them right the way to the top. And this will make a lot more than 12. So they will be a slightly drier sponge. It's almost more like a Swiss roll sponge, you know, where you just use egg whites.
Yeah. It'll be a lot lighter as well.
Hopefully. Right, so whilst those are baking, we do have some that we prepared earlier, which we have dehydrated. Now, dehydrating things, you can buy dehydrators for about £20 online. All it does is just blows air continuously. You can do it with fruits, you can do it with cakes, things with low amounts of fat. And what you end up with, as we saw earlier with our freeze-dried fruit pieces, is very, very solid. They're almost like viscosity.
I know, yeah.
So all the moisture has been driven out of our cake. So we can try this not 1, not 2, but 3 ways. So first of all, there's the coffee on earth method, which is just eat it as is, or just give it a little dunk. We can also try adding the water to it, so leaving it in water and then removing it, trying it like a sponge. And the third one, which is the most spacey one, is we'll put it into a bag, crumble it down into a powder, squirt liquid into the powder, and then eat it kind of from a little bag, like this, which is how astronauts are most likely to. But I think that's going to be the most grim one.
Yeah.
So shall we start with
the normal one?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Right, I have to say, it is incredibly solid. Very dry. It's like eating a meteorite. This is definitely more like a biscuit.
Yeah, like a biscotti or something quite hard.
Yeah, it's not that bad. So we've tried it on its own.
Yeah.
I think we should go for the biscotti dunk test.
Yeah.
So this is just going to be rehydrated. So we've got some quite warm water here, just in a bowl. And I'm thinking, judge for as long as you think necessary.
Okay.
I'm going to go for a couple of seconds, bring it out, let it absorb in, and then try it, see what the difference is. 1, 2, 3. Some bubbles coming off it in the water actually. And then I'm going to bring it out, and then I'm just going to let it sit for a couple of seconds.
It is definitely rehydrating.
It does look, it still feels quite solid.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to try a bite of that. Should we try at the same time?
Yeah, let's do
Okay,
it.
3, 2, 1.
It's so much softer.
Oh, that's so odd.
I know.
So whereas before really crunchy, this time you bite straight in. Now it's almost like cake.
I know, it's really weird. And I get more of the flavour as well.
And you can see it kind of is looking a little bit more spongy.
I like that.
I think that's quite a success.
It's odd, but I like it.
So this is our third and final way to eat the sponge.
I'm a bit nervous about this way.
We're going to blitz it down in a blender, pop it in a bag,
As
it would be if it was being sent to the space
exactly.
station, and then add the water back in. Give that a little bit of a
shake.
You can breathe it as well. Right, I think I'm just going to pulse this a little bit. You can see it looks like a tornado of dust.
It looks like soil.
It smells like burning. Help bind everything together. I think we'll just cut with spoonfuls. Okay, so whilst it might not look the most appetizing, I think it's fair to say, it's time for the taste test, because that's what's going to be important. So imagine we're drifting in orbit. This would be in a squeeze bag. This is our third method. Adding to the powder cake. Chin chin.
Cheers. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
But it's light. It's chocolatey. It's not forming crumbs, which is important, because it's damp. So as you break bits off,
They're holding.
just about.
Yeah. I guess you could add slightly more water.
You might be wondering why we need to dehydrate it in the first place. First reason is actually to prevent food spoilage. One of the reasons that bacteria can grow is moisture in food. So by removing the moisture means we can keep food on the space station or up in space for a very, very long time, 6 months or more.
Oh my goodness.
And also, it's to save weight when we're launching. If you imagine a piece of fruit that might be 60 or 70% water, if we can take all that weight out, send it into space, and then re-add in recycled water afterwards, it saves a lot of money, and we can actually send more food into orbit to keep our astronauts going for longer. Just to check. There's still a little bit of liquidy. Oh, as slow as this ag. Cut into this. You'll see, much more spongy. So we've got some icing in a bag here, which is probably more likely what you'd actually have in space. It seals well, keeps for a long time, and it only comes out in one bit in a very controlled way. It's actually recommended on the pack here to heat this in warm water to be able to pipe this, and that is something you could do in the space station.
Exactly.
So quite often to have meals, they have these vacuum sealed packages. They go into a special oven which puts in hot water, warms it through, and then they're able to take it away. So it's just probably something we could do with our icing.
Yeah, to add a bit of sweetness.
Yeah. But I'm going to try into a little... And I'm going to grab some of this dehydrated fruit. Now in space you wouldn't just sprinkle this because then you'd be floating around trying to hoover it up with your mouth. So this is probably a bit less likely, but I like a little bit of berry tang.
I was going to do like stars like that, but then it just wasn't...
Oh, there's an air bubble?
Yeah, so it didn't work.
So you can do it like a row. If you start in the middle, I'm sure you've done this before, if you start in the middle
like
and
a
then,
sort of rose kind of thing.
yeah, and then kind of overlap, then you can get kind of rose petals and then just kind of drift at the end and tang it round like that.
I'm so good at this.
Which practice.
Right.
That one's just decided to...
It doesn't like this idea.
Yeah, that's the one. Lovely. Oh!
Don't ruin my lovely cupcake.
Right, do you want to, I'm going to do a couple more here, and
yeah,
then do you want to bury those ones up?
Them up.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Mostly went over the counter, but and this is something you definitely wouldn't do on the space station. That is a luxury here on Earth, because imagine clearing all these little bits up. For more content about space and the Starship, subscribe and comment below. We want to hear from you, and we'd love to make some more videos. Let us know how you get on.